logic design. So the essence here is these three things: the value, the trick, and the problem. So I said this is a forward triangle. The terminologies are slightly different in the forward triangle and also in the backward triangle on the right-hand side. In this forward triangle, there are three things. The first one is expectation. The second one is the cause. The last one is the problem. Now, when it comes to the backward triangle on the right-hand side, the essence is it consists of the value, the trick, and the problem. So you might have noticed that the problem is common. It's always at the bottom of this figure. At the top, in the case of backward triangle, there is a value of your research. However, the value is what people want. So this is equal to the expectation. So that's why I overlaid two triangles in the first page. On the left-hand side, I had the forward triangle like this. On the right-hand side, I had the backward triangle like that. Yeah, like this. So this is the research. You start with the problem. You develop some trick to bring this problem back to the value by an anti-effect provided by the trick. Once you have performed these two analyses, it is not the end. Now you may have this figure with a clear definition or identification of expectation, value, these two problems. But as I already said, they are basically equal to each other, and these are equal to each other. But clearly, the cause and the trick, they are different. Once you have identified or completed this figure, it is not the end. It's not that simple. It's not that easy for you. What you are supposed to do is to go back and forth between these two triangles, the forward triangle and the backward triangle, to make the expressions better so that you will have much clearer and reasonable explanation about what you have done in the research. To help you identify these things, I have prepared some dedicated sheets. The first one is a forward triangle sheet where you are supposed to identify 4 items in the forward triangle. The first one is the expectation. At the top, the last one here is a problem at the bottom. You will identify a cause and also the effect, which is brought by this cause. So you will identify 4 things. In many cases, in the first trial, you may not have good answers for these 4 items. So that's why I said you need to repeat, or you need to go back and forth between the forward and the backward triangle. It is important to use noun phrase or simply a noun in these 4 boxes so that you can use it for other purposes in later stages. Now, this is a backward triangle sheet. The only difference is that this is a value, but as I said, value is in most cases equal to the expectation. The problem is equal to each other in these 2 triangles. So the difference lies in these 2 boxes in B and C as the trick and effect, or in most cases, it is an anti-effect. So what is the trick to achieve the value and what is the anti-effect? In the original 3-point analysis, I just asked you to design this sheet without anti-effect. So that's why it used to be the 3-point analysis, the first point, second point, and the third point. However, I found it is more useful, it is more helpful to ask about the effect so that you will be able to identify a more appropriate trick or sometimes the value. Again, noun phrase is encouraged for later purposes. Now, this shows the process of the three-point analysis. The most important things are the 3 points. The first one is the value of the paper or of your research. The second one is the trick to achieve the value. Without your trick, you cannot achieve this value. So the problem exists still there. And the last one is to clarify the problem you have solved in the course of your research. When you are successful in the three-point analysis, you can utilize these 3 items to design a good paper title. I know sometimes you spend a couple of days to design the title of the paper, but if you simply follow the method I am going to talk about, you can finish it within 30 seconds. You don't need 1 minute because it's so straightforward. After the title of the paper, once it becomes available, and then the topic sentence of the abstract is similarly designed in 30 seconds because it's so straightforward again. The abstract is probably the section where you are usually spending most of the time because it's not easy to write it because you don't know what to write. And then at the end of the three-point analysis, it is worthwhile to reconfirm the most relevant literature or the most relevant research. That means conventional technology. Sometimes it changes in the course of the three-point analysis. So that is why I put it here at the end. Now, this is the three-point analysis sheet. This is actually equal to the backward triangle sheet. But the only difference is that there is no effect. So that's why there are only 3 points: value, trick, and the problem. Let me explain these things in more details. The value is some benefit to the users. As far as you are working on engineering, there are always users, targeted users. So always think about users and what is the benefit for them, or achievement in your research, or contribution, or how or by what the result of your research makes users happy. So ask yourself in these ways, and then you will be able to identify the value of your research. Let me give you some examples. For example, value may be to enable something like new function, or it may be better performance, more accurate, or more stable. It may be versatility so that you can apply to a wider range of applications. And quick startup may be one of the values possible because you don't have to wait for a long time after you have switched on the system. Structure or algorithm may be the value when it is simpler, or it may have parallelism in it, or it may have a regular or symmetric structure. So these are just examples, and you may find something else, of course, depending on what you have achieved in your research. Now, the value, important thing for the value is that whatever small it is, it must be the first in the world or the best in the world. If you cannot state this is the best in the world or this is the first in the world, it is not the value. If you don't write it, if you don't write the value in that way, your paper is likely to be rejected because reviewers are always trying to find the first in the world, something first in the world or something best in the world. How can you make it sure? So let's first think about superior. What is superior with your research versus the most relevant literature. This is a possible value, and in most cases it is true. Let's try to express it by a single word. What is the catch? Ask yourself, and then you get a noun. That is the value. Or you may also ask yourself what was developed or what was made possible, of course, for the first time in the world. That is the value. So the steps to follow consist of these two things. First, identify the superiority compared to the most relevant literature. Ask which word to use. That's also important. There are many words you can use, but find the most impressive one, find the most appropriate one. But here, at this stage, only one word. So it's, in the sense, it's a general description, but don't worry, in the following step, you will make it more specific so that it is actually the first in the world or the best in the world. So in the next step, make this expression, that is the word you have identified here in the previous step, make this word, make this expression clearer or more accurate or more specific so that it is the first in the world or the best in the world. In many cases, you are likely to limit the application, or if you are likely to limit its contribution. Well, by doing that, you can make it more specific, much clearer, and more accurate. And then, again, after these two steps, reconfirm that it is the first in the world or the best in the world. Now, let me talk about trick. Trick is a solution to realize a value. This is the novelty of the paper. So this is most important. Reviewers are always looking for the novelty. If there is no novelty, your paper is rejected. I promise. And then this effect, the effect of the trick, I called it anti-effect in the backward triangle. It should naturally lead to the value. So that's why it is helpful to identify the effect of the trick. So that's why I modified the 3-point analysis to backward triangle sheet by introducing the step to identify the effect. Now, let me talk about some examples. The trick may be a new component in the system, or it may be a new measure or an index. It may be a new process when you are working on the device technology. It may be a new or equivalent model or structure. When it is equivalent model or structure, there should be something else which leads to the first or the best in the world. It may be a new cost function. It is true in the case of optimization. When you had some optimization in your research, this is a likely trick. And then new ingredients when you are working on device technology, and redundancy removal also may serve as a trick. Okay, the third one is the problem. Problem is actually opposite to the value. This is a must condition. However, it is often violated, especially when the paper is written by unexperienced people, including junior faculty members. When this is violated, it doesn't sound reasonable. The logic is not a good one. But I like such a paper because I can reject the paper instantly. I don't have to spend long time. So I like those papers, but you don't like them when you are writing your paper. So always keep it in mind that problem and the value are opposite to each other. This is a quite natural consequence because when you solve the problem, you get a value. So that's why they are opposite to each other. So problem means something bad. It's a negative thing. I'm teaching technical writing at universities. Sometimes some of the students say, this is the problem with something good. And I say, it doesn't happen. It cannot be. It cannot be true because, the problem is what people don't want. So in that sense, it's something negative. And the problem lies with the most relevant literature. That's why you are there to solve it. And the problem, the value is obtained when the problem is gone. So that's why, as I already said, they are opposite each other. Sometimes it is not easy for you to identify the problem. So to guarantee the opposite relationship between the problem and the value, I have developed this sheet. Once you have identified the value, what you are supposed to do is to put some negative thing like no or not to the value so that it becomes something negative, but it may not sound natural. I mean, the expression you have made by adding these two things or one of these. So then you will rephrase it. This actually would help identify the value and the problem which are opposite to each other. These are comments on the 3-point analysis. It is not a simple one-way or one-time process. Once you have done it, it's not the end at all. So you are encouraged to do it again and again. So it's actually a spiral process to improve 3 points one after another. If you modify one of them, it is likely that 2 others are likely to be modified to make a better fit to each other. And words and expressions are improved by going back and forth between the value and the problem. Even if they are opposite to each other, to show the opposite relationship, you may find a better expression. You may find a better words. So that's why you are supposed to do here in this process. The value and the problem, they may not be still clear to some of you. So let me make further comments. Value and the problem are likely to be an item or a situation or a characteristics. If the problem is something impossible, the value is something possible, so that they are opposite to each other. When the problem is about something missing, now the value is something available to make them opposite to each other. When you use an adjective, problem is usually with a negative adjective, and its positive version is used for the value to make them opposite to each other. I will show you some examples so that you will be convinced if you are not clear at this moment. Now, find the simple and impressive expression, because there are not only, but many possible words you can use or expressions you can use. And then finally, again, we confirm the value and the problem are opposite to each other. I repeat it so many times, and you may feel that you are heck of it, but there are so many people, so many papers I have rejected because of this, because it is violated. And then it doesn't sound reasonable. For example, as a problem, you may say, okay, I would like to provide a fast conversion algorithm. But at the end, in the conclusion, you may say, we have presented an algorithm with a very small number of computations. They are not opposite to each other. So that's a very good, inappropriate example of a combination of the value and the problem. So here is a 3-point analysis check sheet. You are supposed to check all yes in these boxes when you have successfully completed the 3-point analysis. Now, once you are successful in the 3-point analysis, you have 3 things on the hand: the value, the trick, and the problem. Let's use these 3 things to design the title of the paper As I said, it's so straightforward. You don't have to spend more than 30 seconds because it's a simple combination of the value, you already have it, and the trick, you already have it. You simply put value followed by trick, and you have to find the conjunction, because if you simply put the value and trick, they are not connected. So to connect these two things, you may find a conjunction like with or by or something like that. But it's not a big thing. That's why I say it's so straightforward. You can make it within 30 seconds. Now, sometimes you would like to introduce yet one more word. It is okay, but no more than one word. And based on my experiences, 98% of the cases, this is sufficient. You don't have to add any word if you are successful in the three-point analysis. Now, once you have designed a good paper title, you can utilize it for the topic sentence in the abstract. The topic sentence is the first sentence in the abstract. I know many people start with the conventional method or past research or research history or things like that. That's not what reviewers would like to see in the abstract. They are busy. They would like to see the novelty. They would like to see if it is effective or not, if it is valid or not. Don't talk about those things, but simply start with this kind of topic sentence. That is, this paper proposes or this paper presents, followed by the paper title. That's simple. It's a simple combination of the paper title and the trailing phrase here. So that's why you can make it within 30 seconds. It is okay to design something different, but in that case, you don't have any clear guidance. But in this case, there is a very clear and a simple guidance, simple combination of those things. Some of you may wonder why there are two verbs, propose and present. What's the difference? I would say you can always use present. However, propose is more impressive because it gives you a stronger impression. However, sometimes you cannot use propose. Propose means something new. For example, when you compare some existing method and the result may be something new. In that case, you are not proposing anything. You are simply showing that there is something new in the result. In that case, you cannot use propose. So that's why I said, as I said, this is more general. Present is okay. You present something new by your comparison, but you are not proposing anything new. All right? So this is the last stage, most relevant conventional technology. You may identify it, but this is, you have done it in the beginning of the research. However, as I already said, it may change in the process of the three-point analysis. That's why it's worth doing it in the last stage. Let me now talk about an example here. These people are Nobel laureates. They received the 2014 Nobel Prize in Physics 11 years ago. So I will talk about what they have done. I have been working on signal processing, so I'm not an expert of device technology, but they have been working on how they can fabricate a good crystal. So this is a device technology, but I use it as an example because it's so simple. It is so easy to understand, so that this is a good example. Now, there is a reactor which is temperature controlled. There is a sapphire substrate in the reactor. They send reactant gas containing these components like NH3, H2, and TMG. TMG stands for trimethyl gallium. So it is basically gallium. They provide reactant gas and expect that this gas touches the sapphire substrate and accumulate over it to make a good crystal film of the blue laser diode. Those three guys received the Nobel Prize for their contributions to the blue laser diode fabrication. So this is what they had been working on. The problem is the reactant gas does not reach sapphire substrate for some reason. Well, you can think of different reasons. The first thing is, the gas is provided in parallel to the substrate. When you had two parallel things, they will not intersect forever or nowhere. They would intersect nowhere, right? So that means the gas does not touch the substrate. That is not good for depositing this crystal film. Yet another reason is diffusion. Because a reactant gas is a vapor, so it is likely to diffuse. That is a second possible reason. Professor Amano, one of those three people, came up and he proposed a new trick with an effect. In his case, he introduced a delivery tube that is a long tube to carry the reactant gas to a close vicinity of the sapphire substrate so that there will be no diffusion. The release point of the gas, reactant gas, is so close to the substrate, it will not diffuse. That's one thing. And he introduced also an angle to the substrate so that this substrate and the reactant gas are no longer parallel to each other. They will intersect. The gas will touch the substrate. So these are the tricks. Now, let's perform three-point analysis for this case. The value is what is achieved. That's high-quality blue laser diode crystal or crystal deposition. When you talk about the device itself, it is crystal. When you talk about the action or the process, it's a deposition. Either one is fine. And the problem is opposite to this. So because you say high quality, the problem is low quality. Quality used to be low. That is a problem. So when you look at high and low, they are opposite to each other. So the requirement is satisfied here. So what is the trick? Trick is, first of all, delivery tube for reactant gas. He introduced a long tube to carry the reactant gas to a close vicinity of the substrate so that there will be no diffusion. That is the solution. The effect is to prevent diffusion, even though it is not written here. When you apply the backward triangle sheet, you need to find out the effect. So in that case, it will be no diffusion. That is the effect. Okay. So if you use the problem identification sheet or solving sheet, let's put no or not to the value. Value is high quality blue laser diode crystal, deposition or crystal. So simply add no so that it reads no high quality blue laser diode, blah, blah, blah. And it actually means no high means low. So that's why it's identified as low quality. So this sheet helps you in this way. Now, there was yet another solution by Professor Nakamura, again, one of those Nobel laureates. He identified the problem in another way. He identified that the gas goes up because it's lightweight. I mean, the reactant gas is light. So that is a problem. So that's what he identified. And then his solution is to press down the reactant gas onto the sapphire substrate so that it will not go up. This is a very reasonable trick, very reasonable solution, because when you have something going up and you don't want it, it is possible for you to press it down. So that's what he did. And simply doing this, by simply doing this, he received the Nobel Prize. It's very simple. To make the pressing gas more uniform, he actually introduced a funnel-like structure like this. So this is what he illustrates in his original paper. So what is the three-point analysis like for this case? The value and the problem, they don't change. They are equal to those in Professor Amano's case. The only difference lies here in the trick. Instead of a delivery tube, he introduced a pressing gas. Of course, this gas is neutral so that it doesn't do anything good or it doesn't do anything bad for the reaction in the reactor. Again, low quality and high quality, they are opposite to each other. Sometimes it may not be simply low quality, it may be more specific. Actually, in the case of in the paper of Professor Nakamura, it says it's not simply low quality, it is non-uniform. Non-uniformity is one of the low quality because the crystal should be uniform. When you list non-uniform blue laser diode crystal as a problem, of course, the value should be modified. Instead of high quality, it should be uniform. Now, the value is called uniform, and the problem includes non-uniform. That's why they are opposite to each other, and this makes a good pair, opposite pair. All right, so let me explain how you can design a good title with this in this example. So what is the value? Value is the high quality blue laser diode crystal deposition. I am now looking at the process instead of the device itself. And the trick is reactant gas control by pressing gas. The pressing gas is very important. And the conjunction I have applied is with high quality blue laser diode crystal deposition with reactant gas control by pressing gas. Well, the most important point is the pressing gas. So you may not want to keep reactant gas control by, but simply skipping these words to make it pressing gas, with pressing gas. Or you may also use uniform blue laser diode crystal deposition. It is also fine. Now, the topic sentence can be designed in less than 1 minute. You already have this part. All you have to do is to combine this phrase and this paper title. In this case, because you have developed something new, so you may use either one. But I would recommend that you would use propose, because propose sounds much stronger, impressive than present. Or you may call it like this if you like uniform. In the last process, for the case of Professor Nakamura, the relevant, most relevant literature is the paper by Professor Amano, which was actually presented, published in 1986. So this is actually a copy of the first page of Professor Nakamura's paper, but it's not easy to read it, so that's why I copied it like this. This is the abstract or the summary of his paper, which reads like a novel metal organic chemical vapor deposition, or MOCVD for short, system, which has two different flows, has been developed. It doesn't start with this paper, but this is a passive form. So it is also okay. Now, the point is that he says two different flows. Of course, this means the flow of the reactant gas and the flow of the pressing gas. So that's why he says two different flows. This represents the first in the world or the novelty. That is fine. However, in my opinion, my definition is better, because when you look at two flows, the reactant gas and the pressing gas, reactant gas is nothing new. So it's not the point of the paper. The point of paper is the pressing gas. That is the first in the world. That's why I like my own analysis than this one. But it's his paper, so I cannot change it. Okay, so this is yet another example for medicine, not signal processing, not electrical engineering, but this shows a versatility of this method. It can be applied to medicine, it can be applied to maybe mechanical engineering, civil engineering, not only electrical engineering, not only signal processing, it can be applied to whatever research you do. It's a very general concept. Okay, so let me start talking about slide first principle. Okay, the first thing is to allocate pages. You cannot use an infinite number of pages, and then you will perform logic design with the help of three-point analysis, and then you select figures and tables to use, fill in necessary information, and finally you will balance contents within the page and also within the whole slides. Sometimes paired words are useful for value problem identification because value and the problem are opposite. When you use these words, you may use the other word. I have put the positive words on the right-hand side to describe the value. I have put the negative words on the left-hand side to describe the problem. So that's how it works. But all these words, let's look at just one. Let's look at this one, degraded. That's a negative word. What is opposite? Good or superior? Or there are some other words you can use. So this kind of sheet depends on the research field. These are all from my own field of expertise, adaptive filters. What you should do is to always try to add up words whenever you find a good pair, when you read literatures, so that you will have your own paired word sheet, which you will be able to use when you write your own paper. Okay, so how many pages for what is the meaning of page allocation? Usually, 10 to 15 pages are used for presentation. But here, let's assume 10 pages. It's much easier. Page 1 is to be used to describe background and relevant research. In page 2, most relevant research. You are narrowing down the past activities in page 2. In page 3, you will highlight the problem of the most relevant research. And actually, this is the problem you have solved in the course of your research. In page 4, you will describe the trick and possibly the rationale of the solution. This is the most important point because this is the novelty. The trick is the novelty of your paper. And then in pages 5 and 6, you can use these 2 pages to present the details of the trick, because in the previous page, you have only 1 page. You cannot talk about the details or detailed structure or detailed process. So that's why you have 2 additional pages here. In the pages 7 through 9, there are 3 pages for describing the evaluation, including the conditions of evaluation and also the results. Conditions are also important. You don't have to list everything, but at least some important factors about the evaluation should be clarified here. And then in the last page, you will highlight the value in the conclusion or summary. Now, the order of preparation is also important. Don't start from page 1, because page 1 is actually the most difficult page. You cannot finish it in a short time, and you will be discouraged. Oh, I have spent a couple of days on only 1 page. It's not good. So where to start? Start with pages 5 and 6, where you are supposed to detail the trick. Why it is good to start with these pages? Because this is a novelty. This is what you have developed as your research. So you are always excited to talk about it because nobody else has done it yet. You know that. And you are happy to talk about it. That's why you should start with these 2 pages and then go to page 4 to summarize it. First, you describe the details and summarize it so that 3 pages are ready. After that, you will talk about the problem and then most relevant research which has this problem. You will prepare the evaluation pages, 3 pages with conditions. Conditions are, again, important. Do not miss the major conditions. And then finally, you will work on page 1 where you describe the background of the research. Now, it is still difficult, I know, but up to this point, you have completed 80% of your work. So you may feel relaxed because you have already completed 80%. But if you start from here, because this is the most difficult part, you may be discouraged. In this case, you are encouraged. So that's why you should start with these things. Now, finally, conclude or summarize your slides with an emphasis on the body. Okay, so this is how you can utilize the slides when you design the introduction. When you write the introduction in the manuscript, you can simply use ingredients from these 3 pages. When you write conventional technology, you can refer to page 2, and likewise, you can use appropriate slides to draft your paper. So now it's easy because you have all the ingredients, all the contents in the slides. So let me now talk about the abstract because this is probably the most difficult in writing a paper. The abstract consists of 4 sections. The first one is a topic sentence, which you have already designed with the paper title, so you don't have to worry about it. The second thing is trick plus effect. You will highlight the trick and what kind of effect it brings. That's the second sentence. The third and fourth sentences are used to present trick details, because here you can simply call the name of the trick and you cannot tell the details. So that's why you have 2 more sentences. The final sentence here, that's the 5th sentence, is devoted to the evaluations. So this is fairly a long sentence compared to others, but you should include in this single sentence the condition of the evaluation and also results compared to the conventional method or literature. So comparison is very important. And one more important thing is that you should use the present tense, because always the abstract is about your paper. Your paper is there, that's a fact. When you describe any fact, you are supposed to use the present tense. So that's why I said this paper proposes, right? This is the present tense. So these are the details, but I don't think I have sufficient time. I will not talk about the details, but if you submit the evaluation, you will get a copy of these slides so that you may use it when you have a chance to write your own paper. Now, as I said, it's not recommended to start with the background of the research. Why? Because reviewers are busy, and the background is not what they are trying to identify. They would like to see the novelty. They would like to see if your research is useful or effective or valid. So all these things do not come from the background of the research. So introduction is also difficult, I understand, because you don't know what to write. So the first thing you should do is to start with the second to the last paragraph. First of all, write the value of the most relevant literature, not yours. So you will perform 3-point analysis with the most relevant literature. Start with the value of the literature, talk about the trick, and what kind of problem has been solved. You will talk about these 3 things, but the problem is not yet solved when you write it. And actually, the problem is what you have solved. Okay, so simply point out the problem. After that, you will trace back introduction. So you go back to the third to the last paragraph, where you will talk about something similar to the most relevant research for this previous research. And then you will go back counter chronological order with the history of the research, but you simply repeat describing these three things. When it comes to the first paragraph, you will talk about the application, why your research is important, where you can utilize it. So what do you write in the last paragraph? I said you should start with the second to the last paragraph, but the last paragraph consists of these things. First of all, there is a topic sentence. You already have it. And then you describe the contents of the sections of your paper. If you follow this rule, your introduction should look like this. Starting with the second to the last paragraph, you go back to the previous paragraph describing the 3 points of the conventional literatures. When you come to the first paragraph, you will describe the applications and why your research is important. And finally, in the last section, you will put the topic sentence and you will describe the contents of each section. Okay. The last topic is conversion from a table to a figure. As I said, tables are not good because it's not easy to read. So always try your best to avoid tables. But sometimes you should use tables because you cannot express the same thing by a figure. But when you show the result, you can always use a figure. You don't have to use a table. The table is useful to list conditions, but otherwise the figure is always useful. So I have detailed information here, but I will skip details. There are typical types of figures. This is a so-called line chart. This is useful to express something continuous along the time or something. So this is along the time in seconds. This is along the time in years. The second type is so-called stacked bar chart or pie chart to show the ratio, summing up to 100%. So either one is fine. But in case of a technical paper, this one, stacked bar chart, is usually more useful because this is a typical typical bar chart. So this is yet another type. But to save the space in your paper, it is okay, or it is recommended to tilt it to the right by 90 degrees so that it looks like this. So the height, when you look at the height, this is much more efficient. This is not good. Like this. When you right tilt it, it will be like this. When you compress it, it will be like this, which is easier to read. Of course, this one is better. So that's why it is recommended this way. There are some tips. Don't forget about the label for the axis. This happens often. I am likely to reject it, the paper, because I cannot read it without any label. I don't understand it. I don't have time to read the body of the paper. So I just look at the figures. If I don't understand it, it's rejected. Scale the font size. Well, many people use very small font size like this. I'm very sure that you cannot read these things, but this is a copy from a Python or MATLAB or even Excel. So don't simply copy the figure. Instead, make the font size bigger so that it's readable like this. So scale is not always necessary for each notch. You may skip some of them. For example, there is no value here, but it's okay. It's understandable. And you may use colors whenever it is appropriate, but in that case, make an intuitive combination. For example, for the blue line here, use a blue color for the label. More important thing is to include legend in the graph. This is what you usually make. When you try to identify what is this, they are both blue, similar to each other. Actually, this means this means this. However, if you write them in the figure, it's very easy. You can save lots of time. And it is also true for the busy reviewers. Sometimes it's not possible to put the label in it like this. It's too thin. In that case, you can use this line and put it outside. It's okay. It's also true for the pie chart in this case, but it's a problem. You need to compare this with this with this, and things like that. So this is what I would like to see. And in addition to that, it's close. It may not be in the figure, but it's close, closely placed to each pie, each piece of pie. One more thing is that, percent sign is duplicated many times so that you can share it by all these slices of the pie so that you see the percent sign just once. Now, this is more complicated example, but this is what you usually draw. The legend is outside. There is a very big free space. That's not good. Let's put it into the graph. That's what it happens. But still, there is redundancy. You see row many times, that's a sign of redundancy. If you see the same thing many times, that's a sign of redundancy. What you can do is to share the row, simply put values here. This is understandable. Use labels and show that these are the baseline curves and these are what you propose. So this is much easier to understand and efficient, space-wise efficient. So this is the original graph. This is the improved one. Which one you like better? The font size is bigger than this, clearly, because the space is more effectively used in this case. So sometimes the labels are too long, like this. You can apply many techniques. The first one is abbreviation. Instead of convolution, you can use conv, or cut the word at the syllable, like this in this case. And you may also introduce a slanted label so that the space along the vertical space is much shorter, smaller. And then you can apply abbreviation plus acronym. In this case, NN stands for neural network. But in that case, always full spell it close to the figure. And simply one acronym, CNN stands for convolutional neural network. Or you may call each bar, you may label each bar by the name you define, like conventional 1, conventional 2, blah, 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 versus proposed. Or you can even put the name of the author of the original paper, like Smith, Johnson, William, Brown, versus proposed. So this is a good example. One of my colleagues prepared this table. I said it's not easy to understand because you don't understand it either. So these values may be important because they are highlighted. The first thing is to introduce a bar chart. It's like this. But what are these bars for? They are here to show that the height of the bars are not very different even when you change the value of the row. So it may be introduced, incorporated into a single bar like this. Average shows the average of many bars with the variation, the range of the variation by this one. So that you can remove all these bars to have this kind of simple chart. So when you compare it with this kind of table, it's clear that figure is much more readable. So that's why I encourage you to use a figure instead of a table. So something similar can be applied to this table. And, this is the figure prepared from another table, and this one too. It is possible to integrate these two because they share the same axis, the same offset in the positive direction and negative direction, so that it is possible to integrate these two figures into one along the time. Let's see. When you have completed your figure, why don't you check these things? Of course, you are supposed to check all these boxes, all these squares, yes, so that you will be sure that your figure is a good one. So figure positions, don't put it at any place, but usually at the top. These are better positions, but in the first page, it is not possible because, at the top, you have the title and authors and so on. So in that case, put it here at the bottom. So this is the second choice. This is a better position at the top, but below the title. Okay, so this concludes my presentation today. I will not go through the summary because, it's simply spending additional time. Now it is time for you to give me questions if you have any. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hello, sir. Good morning. Thank you for the talk. I am myself Arshin from Alliance University. So I would like to ask you a few questions. So my first question is, sir, what if my trick or what if my value is proven wrong? What will be the conclusion of my research paper?
Can you say it again? I did not understand.
What if my trick or what if my assumptions are proven wrong? What will be the conclusion of my research paper? So you have told that trick is an important point in three-step analysis. So what if my trick is proven wrong?
What is?
What if my trick is proven wrong?
Metric?
Yeah, trick.
Oh, trick.
Yeah.
I don't think I got the question in the right way. Can you rephrase it?
What he thinks that trick is that may be wrong once he submits.
Yes. What if it's proven?
Okay.
So what should we do as a set?
Yes.
You can simply repeat the 3-point analysis.
Yeah,
because
yes.
you know that it is not appropriate.
Yeah.
If you know it, do it again.
Okay.
But, as I already said, you can go back and forth between the two triangles, the forward triangle and the backward triangle. So it should help compared to simply trying to re-identify the trick.
Yes.
That's
Fine.
my answer.
Okay, fine, understood, sir. My second question is, you have given us some order to start packing our paper, like start from fifth or fourth page like that. So what if my research paper is having good content from page number 3 to 10, and what if my introduction is not good? Then what will be the result of my publishing, or what will be the result of the paper?
You said the contents of your paper.
Yes, sir.
Is that paper or slides?
Paper, sir. Research paper, yeah.
Research paper.
Yes,
so you
sir,
are assuming a paper like 10-page long.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and?
So my page number 5th to the page number 10, it is good way, which means what reviewer is expecting. But my first 2 to 3 pages are not good. Then what should I do or what will it lead to?
Well, you should make your first and second and third pages
Yeah.
better or even abstract and
Okay.
interesting. Because when I review a paper, I don't read the body.
Okay, sir. Okay.
I first go to the abstract,
Mm.
try to identify the novelty
Mm.
and its performance.
Mm.
Because I am assuming that there is some performance value in the abstract. If I don't find it, well, it is put in a reject box once. And then I will go to the body, but I don't read the body because I'm too busy. I
Okay,
simply look at the figures.
Mm.
If there are tables, I try to read, but in most cases, I don't understand the tables.
Okay.
And then I will definitely reject the paper. I'm happy to do it because I can save lots of time.
Okay,
So
sir.
always concentrate on the abstract
Okay, sir.
and the title, because they are likely to first read the abstract, because abstract is a kind of summary of the whole paper. The purpose of the abstract is let you skip the body.
Okay.
Everybody will be happy because they are busy. Don't expect them to read the body. I usually would not.
Okay, sir. Fine.
Sometimes I need to review 10 to 20 papers a day. I don't have time, and I don't like it because you cannot keep reading difficult to read papers. If they are easy to understand, and then I enjoy reading.
Okay, sir.
But most of the papers are not bad, not well written. They are really badly written. I'm happy to reject it because I don't care. They are not my papers.
Okay, sir.
I have devoted my precious time, and there is always a limit.
Okay, sir.
That's
Fine.
very easy.
And my last question, sir. So, can I have 50% of figures in my research paper rather than the text in that?
My answer is yes, you can. However, in my
Okay.
opinion, it would
Okay.
not happen.
Okay, sir. Fine. Now, if I'm able to.
Yeah, but I have never seen
Okay,
a
sir.
paper like that.
Okay, sir.
Unless, well, even for a short paper, well, actually, I have some comments about short paper like single page.
Okay,
Let's talk about a single page paper. In that case, the number of figures should be limited to 1 for the evaluation, 1 for the illustration of what you are proposing. So in that case, there are only two figures. When it comes to 10-page paper, usually you don't have 10 figures.
Okay.
So if you say more than 50%, the figures will fill more than 5 pages.
Yes, sir.
That's ridiculous.
Okay.
It would not happen.
Okay.
It's not a scientific paper.
Okay. Okay.
In that case, your paper can be much shorter, or your figures are likely to be redundant.
Okay.
Design of your figures are not appropriate because in many cases you can integrate a couple of papers into one, but still it is readable, understandable without reading the body.
Okay, sir.
So design of the figures is very important because reviewers would like to skip the body to save time. To do that, they are likely to come to the figure, and if there is a clear superiority shown about your method compared to the conventional method, they are happy. I'm happy too. And then I instantly accept it. As far as I understand the novelty or the change.
Okay. Fine, sir. Thank you for the session. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, there.
I'm from IIT Vellore, and I'm an alumni of BMS College of Engineering. So my question is, so whenever you write a paper, you usually go for your plagiarism check and an AI check. So in the first scenario, your plagiarism check and your AI check comes at plagiarism and AI check comes at 0%, is a good score. But then when you go for your grammatical analysis, etc., and then you rewrite the paper, sometimes you get an AI score of more than 50%. So how do you actually cross that limit down?
I didn't get your question.
So you have all your content and then you write a paper. And then when you ask for the plagiarism check with all the parameters listed.
What check did you say?
Plagiarism.
Oh, plagiarism. Okay.
Yeah. So you see few grammatical mistakes. So at that time, you sometimes you do your own corrections, or you use an AI tool. But then when you go for a second round of plagiarism, the analysis shows around 50%. So how do you actually lessen the amount of
Okay, let me clarify your question. There are two cases. In a plagiarism check,
Yeah.
the system may return 30% or 40% or 50% overlap with another paper. In that case, there are two patterns. Another paper listed by the system is your own paper. In the second case, the listed paper was written by somebody else. Which case are you talking about?
Like I'm using my same paper. Like in the first time, I give the first draft where I get the score as a normal level, which is a good score. But then later on, I identify few pointers or few more aspects where I can add to the paper, such as grammatical mistakes, or like to correct the grammatical mistakes, or few more analysis like images, etc. So when you do the second round of check, the score won't be appropriate. So like how do you actually manage those things?
I still don't clear with your question. You are talking about the first round and the second round plagiarism check by the system. But my question is, what your paper is compared with in the system? It says when the system says there is a 50% overlap, the overlap is with your paper you have just completed and another paper. The question is, what is another paper? Is that another paper of yours or another paper by somebody else? Or yourself. So in that case, well, yeah, it's clear. You need to introduce something new. It's very clear. It does happen. For example, when you write a paper and they present it at a conference, and later you may put some details and submit it to a journal. In that case, it may be, a case where you find, or the system find 50% overlap. In that case, if the system says 50% overlap, you don't have sufficient volume of something new, which have not appeared in your conference paper. So you need to add more things which have not been presented. So that is my answer. Oh, oh, okay. Maybe I should stand here. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you'll be here with us for some more time, so we'll break now. But before that, I would like to felicitate Professor for his wonderful session. I guess it's a lot of new inputs for all of us on this time.
So please join the evaluation, which the sheet will be distributed after this session by maybe mail.
Yeah.